Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thank you. I am Tian Wei. It's my great honor to welcome all of you to the award ceremony, 2019 World Bank Group and Sexual Violence Research Initiative Development Marketplace Innovations to Address Gender-Based Violence. I know many of you are watching this event online from around the world, so welcome, and so do you sitting here with us today in Washington, D.C. For those who are joining us from all over the world, we will also like to invite you for the discussion about this topic. If you are doing it, please use the hashtag GBV Solutions, which stands for Gender-Based Violence, solutions. And also, if you're joining us in DC, we would love to have your mobile phone silenced throughout today's event. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my great honor to introduce to the stage Kristalina Georgieva, who is the World Bank CEO, who also served over the past 3 months as the interim president of the World Bank Group. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much all for being here today. But I would like to particularly recognize and thank the Graham family. They have been with us 40 years in a row. They have done something remarkable. They turned the loss of their daughter, Hannah, into a benefit for millions of women who are experiencing the cruelty of gender-based violence, to bring their numbers down, to improve the livelihood of fewer girls and women to fall victims to violence. And I think you all will be with me to say thank you. It is a moment in time when the tide is turning. More women and men in our world today say enough is enough. We do not want to be offended, abused, harassed, victimized, or witness that, be silent partners when that happens. It got a good name. The name is Me Too. I look at the audience. I bet that the women of my generation, and maybe the younger women, if we close our eyes, there would be this moment we would remember that we wished did not happen. I was Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid a couple of years ago, when traveling to countries where gender-based violence is pervasive, like Democratic Republic of Congo, coming back from the Kivus, I felt I owed the Congolese women to speak up about my experience as a young girl, being almost victimized. Luckily, I was very athletic, so that didn't happen. I buried this memory. That was a brother of one of my best friends. I buried this memory. And then I felt I had to say that. And then the people around me said, "Oh, Commissioner, don't do it. We don't talk about these things. Maybe if you are to tell a story of somebody else." And then, a couple of years ago, stupidly, I actually listened to that. I did not write it from first name. I wrote it as if it happened to somebody else. I put a block out there. So today I stand in front of you and I say, me too. What happened to me was not life-threatening. What happened to Hannah took her away from her family and friends. What happens to girls and women far too often has tragic consequences for them, for their families, for their loved ones. And it is our paramount duty to do all we can to build a wall so that violence does not penetrate lives around us or far away. And I am very proud that my institution, the World Bank Group, has embraced that battle against sexual violence so wholeheartedly that when you look at our programs today, they're remarkably different from what they were just years ago. And what we know has become a major factor is what we are gathered to do today, and it is to use the development marketplace to create the innovation that fits in our work and makes it possible to be more effective. We have three things we are proud of at the World Bank Group. The first one is relentlessly pursuing gender equality in everything we do and systematically publishing a record of the legal rights of women. It is called Women, Business and the Law. I strongly recommend those of you who may have not seen it to please get a copy. And to leave no doubt around what you're looking for, it looks like this. What we do, this is a reflection of 10 years of reform, is to capture in the lifetime of a woman to what extent the law protects her. What we know from this report is that, unfortunately, today, women in an average economy have only 3/4 of the legal rights of men. That while we have made progress in these 10 years, measured on a scale from 1 to 100, 100 being the best, we have gone up from around 70 to around 75 points globally over 10 years. If we are to move with that speed of 5 points improvement per 10 years, even if I live to be as old as medicine says I can max, which is apparently 120 years, I won't live long enough to see this world in which women are equal to men. And I want really very much to see it. What we know from this report is there is progress. In 47 countries, there are now laws that protect women from domestic violence. In 35 countries more, there are laws that protect the workplace from sexual harassment. This is good, but not good enough. Only 6 countries on this planet have equal legal rights for women, and having laws on the books doesn't yet mean that there is equality in reality. So we have work to do, and we will continue to pursue that relentlessly to drive more gender equality and more protection for women. The second part we are proud of is that we have taken our work, and some of the colleagues who do that are right here in this audience, to integrate protection against violence towards women in our projects in a very systematic way. We have dedicated projects against sexual violence, and we have integration of that team across our portfolio. I visited one of these projects in Rwanda, and it is absolutely remarkable. Survivors have a way to call and get health, legal, psychotherapy in one place, one-stop shop. And that is now spread all over Rwanda, and it is a model that we see other countries adopting. And the third thing we do, as I said in the beginning, is to work with partners like the Inter-American Development Bank and the George Washington Global Women's Institute to have a good take on experience in what we call Violence Against Women and Girls Resource Guide, something that says, when you see it, you know it, when you know it, you act. Over the last 4 years, thanks to what we have started with the Graham family, there have been 41 research projects in low and middle income economies that have received the Development Marketplace Award, together with the Sexual Violence Research Institute. And they are really remarkable projects. Let me give you a couple of examples. One that really touched my heart is, again, going to Rwanda. So we do research and we compare a focus group with a how do you call it, comparative group. So we have a group where we take action, and we have a group that is no action, and then we compare. And in the group that is that action is taken, just short of 2 years later, women reported 25% less violence at home than the control group. Well, to us, it may sound like, well, it's not that much, it should be more, but for these women in the that got 25% less violence, this is a material improvement in their lives. Or we got in interesting research in my neighborhood in Greece. What it did was to say, does it make a difference if we have female healthcare providers and female interpreters in the teams that record complaints? Does that make a difference? It does, very significant, and it increases dramatically the willingness of survivors to call for help, dramatically. So we are now gathering again to celebrate the winners. And let me tell you a little bit about who they are and what it is about. We have a winner, Central African Republic, a country that is very dear to my heart. I have been there 4 times. We know that in the Central African Republic, conflicts has been tearing communities apart, but it has been particularly dramatic for women. Half of all women victims of sexual violence, 8 in 10 women, 8 in 10 victims of domestic violence. So what we're doing is to bring support to hospitals and health centers in 5 districts, offering to survivors free essential treatment, counseling, help, and very dear to the hearts of all of us, offering women income-generating opportunities so they can keep their heads high and be independent. What is particularly impressive is that the government of the Central African Republic is now saying, oh, that's good for women, it is actually good for peace, and peace is so precious. So they are scaling up, they want to invest in this program themselves, despite of very tight fiscal resources. In Nepal, we are using technology to increase access to help. We have installed helplines, and you can reach it by phone, by app, by mobile. Massive increase of reporting, massive. And that means a wall is being built against violence. In West Bank and Gaza, we have an incorporation of gender-based violence response in a non-GBV project. The purpose of the project is not that, but we are bringing cash transfers targeting victims, targeting survivors. In Ethiopia, the Ethiopian electric utility is saying, well, we have to bridge the gap between men and women, and we want to do it in a way that is sensitive to the fact that women are often victims of violence. So we want to create safe reporting capacity for women. So we have very interesting experience, very inspiring experience so far. I made a mistake when I talked to the Graham family, saying, so this is the 5th time we are doing this gathering at the bank. And it is, fortunately, a very innocent mistake, because of if a 5th year and a 6th and a 7th and an 8th, there will be more to come. I want to thank you all for being here. We would now see a short video. And let me once again express my gratitude to the Graham family and to my colleagues that are making this work possible on behalf of women and girls everywhere. Thank you.
Și astăzi putem vorbi de peste 2500 de elevi care au trecut sau studiază anul acesta disciplina relații armonioase în cuplu.
La cursul de relații armonioase în familie am învățat cum este să-ți construiești o relație bazată pe încredere, pe curaj, pe dragoste, pe înțelegere între două persoane.
Am instruit 48 de profesori care au predat și predau această disciplină în circa 40 de licee din Republica Moldova.
Early marriage is a violation of human rights, and in times of conflicts, this phenomenon increases. So you see the numbers rising.
We collected 1,422 self-interpreted stories from Syrian girls, both married and unmarried, as well as Syrian mothers and fathers, and married and unmarried men in the community.
What is important about these results is that two newly emerging root causes became evident. So it's no longer just the cultural practice, but what was also brought up were the economic factors and the protection factors. And I think understanding the different root causes can help us tailor programs and projects that are really more impactful.
This project has partnered with the Ministry of Health, the Kenyan government, to try and test the feasibility of group problem management plus targeting men with a history or a background of gender-based violence.
So from the sessions I realized I have to listen first, and then we discuss, and then we see whether we can get a way out of the problem. So it really did help me.
Preliminary results suggest that there is a relationship between the theory and actual findings in terms of reduction of gender-based violence.
They actually say that we were late. We should have come earlier. So maybe this program, we should enlarge it, roll it out in other communities, maybe countrywide in the future.
An inspiring video, one after another case studies, certainly one after another encouraging examples for all of us to follow. Actually, we already have a very compassionate start today with the event, with a speech given by Kristalina. Thank you so much for providing us with all your warmth and also strength of your personal story and the leadership of the World Bank in leading this cause forward. Thank you. Having said that, many of you might be very much aware the Development Marketplace is a partnership between the World Bank and also Sexual Violence Research Initiative. Before we go to our awards today, let's also invite another lady who is very crucial for this cause, Claudia Garcia-Moreno, who is the founder and coordinating group member of SVRI and also World Health Organization lead on violence against women. Claudia.
Good afternoon, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's really amazing to see such a room full focused on this very specific issue, which is very dear to my heart. And I'm delighted to be here addressing you on behalf of the Sexual Violence Research Initiative. The SVRI, as we are known for short, has been working to advance research on violence against women since 2003. We have now over 6,500 members, which make us the largest global network for research on violence against women and violence against children, focused on low and middle income settings. We started our grant making in 2013 and were joined in 2016 by the World Bank Group, which helped to double the amount of funding available. We are celebrating now the fourth event of this nature with a joint partnership, and really we are extremely proud of the partnership and of this specific award. I think you will all agree with me that research is vital. Research helps us to progress knowledge, to improve the quality of policies and programs, and to strengthen their delivery. It is an important tool to redress inequity. It helps countries to identify issues for which more resources are needed, and to find solutions to pressing world problems, of which violence against women is one. And we've already heard very eloquently, and we know the numbers, and we know that it's probably many of us in this room could join the Me Too, and the statistics are very much there, showing that this is a problem worldwide. The SVRI World Bank Group Development Marketplace Award plays a very special role in helping move this field forward. Through this funding, we strive to build evidence, and we strive to also develop innovation and support innovation on what works to prevent violence against women. We support research that may not be supported through other mechanisms, And with our focus on low and middle income countries, also research in places that often may not have research or where it may be limited. We place a lot of importance in the principles that guide our research and this award. And this include equity, fairness, innovation, collaboration, and a desire to influence change. We want to support research that really makes a difference on the ground. So the research that we support through this award, we feel must fulfill the following 5 criteria. We want research that is ethical, rigorous, solution-oriented. Research that is going to support efforts that are already being made by policymakers and that will improve responses. It needs to be research that addresses issues that are already priority in low and middle income countries, and furthermore, be conceived in partnership with policymakers and practitioners. Fourthly, we emphasize the importance of supporting capacity building of researchers, of program managers, of practitioners in low and middle income countries. And lastly, it needs to address gaps in our knowledge and take a deeper dive into existing data. One of the themes of this particular awards this year is scaling up. We know more about what works to prevent violence against women today than we've known before, but we urgently need to share that research and share that knowledge to help scale up effective and affordable programs in resource-poor settings. If we don't, we will not be able to address these problems, or it may take us many years, as with the gender equality. We don't want to wait for everything to be in place. We want countries to start moving and benefiting from what we know. Kristalina has already spoken about the great work supported under this award. You've seen some of it, and you will see some more in the coming hour that we have here. But beyond the funding of the specific research, both the SVRI and the World Bank Group are committed to sharing this research with multiple stakeholders who can use it to make a difference in the real lives of women and children and continue to build better programs. In other words, we want the research used. We want it to shape policies, programs, and services for those who need them. Already some of the sharing is taking place, and the videos are a wonderful contribution to this. We also have several previous winners who've submitted abstracts to present some of their work at the SVRI Forum 2019, which is the gathering that we have every 2 years, and we're coming to our 10th anniversary, that brings together researchers, policymakers, program planners that are focused on violence against women in low and middle income countries. This year it will be held in Cape Town in October, 21st to 25th, and we invite you all to join us to learn from key thinkers in the field, share the work that you're doing, hear about the great learnings from this award mechanism and from other work that is going on globally. The field is moving very fast, and this forum is a great place to find out what's new. I think to conclude, I just want to say that events like this that annually supporting cohorts of researchers to develop, evaluate, and share innovative research, this collective learning towards finding solutions is essential. It's essential if we want to make the world a place where women and men, boys and girls, grow up without violence and surrounded by norms that actually condemn this violence and promote gender equality. So thank you to the World Bank Group, and thank you to all of you for sharing this time with us. I will now hand over to IFC Vice President for Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe and Central Asia, Georgina Baker, to say a few words and to make the first of these awards.
Thank you, Kristalina, Claudia, and Tanway. I'm here today to honour Hannah Graham and the many other victims of gender-based violence. I would also like to honour the brother of another colleague at IFC who lost his life when he tried to stop a sexual assault on a street just 5 miles from here. Victims of violence can also be the many courageous human beings who refuse to be mere bystanders. Violence affects millions of people around the world, preventing them from reaching their full potential. Such violence is often neglected, yet is painfully widespread, and no company is immune, which is why the IFC CEO last year committed to supporting the Private Sector Focused Award. We have accelerated our work with clients in emerging markets on unearthing evidence on the prevalence of gender-based violence, defined interventions that work, and formed partnerships that help us to learn and adapt for future interventions. In Myanmar, for example, IFC has studied the impact of sexual harassment and bullying in partnership with 26 companies. We found that sexual harassment is prevalent in all the workplaces. Our research found that 15% of employees had been sexually harassed and 21% had witnessed someone being sexually harassed. This harassment, combined with bullying, resulted in a 14% annual loss of labour productivity. In the Solomon Islands, we completed last week a study of 9 companies on the impact of domestic and sexual violence in the workplace. 1 in 3 of the surveyed employees experienced domestic or sexual violence in the 12 months preceding the survey. In 2 companies, this rate was even higher. These figures speak for themselves and demonstrate that the private sector needs to be a key ally in this space. To help our clients to better understand and address the situation, in cooperation with bank colleagues, IFC has developed and recently started to pilot a pre-investment gender-based violence risk screening tool. Based on this screening, we have started risk deep dive analyses on high-risk projects and are supporting clients' work to address this issue. For example, with a hydro project in Cameroon, or a solar energy project in Egypt, or a plantation project in Malawi. We are also partnering with the Business Fights Poverty platform and are currently running a development challenge focused on gender-based violence and what the private sector can do. This initiative aims to amplify learning from every corner of the world and enables companies to make a difference at the workplace and in the community. We are looking forward to partnering with the winners of the development marketplace and learning from your work. Let me congratulate all of you for your fantastic and much-needed work. Before concluding, I would like to say that I am surprised that the topic of gender-based violence continues to be neglected, although the benefits of addressing gender-based violence at work are numerous. And if I can follow Kristalina's lead on this, I'll just share a personal thought. When I was reading my speaking points last night, I remembered that my son was fired from work when he protected a transgender colleague on the streets of DC from violence. And I was proud of him then, and I'm never more proud of him today. Sorry. I now invite the winner of the Private Sector Focused 2019 Development Marketplace Award, representing the Institute of Investigation of Universidad San Martín de Porres, Alberto Diaz Rosillo, to come to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Georgina, for that presentation and also the awards. Thank you. Kristalina, see you later. Thank you. And now, let's go to our other parts of the awards event. We are going to invite to the stage the regional vice presidents of the World Bank Group, and they are going to present the awards for the winners coming from different regions around the world. Now, would you like to invite them with some applause? Later, we're also going to brief our audience about how those who receive the awards are going to use the fund that they are being rewarded today and how they are going to do their work from now on. So let me have, first of all, they are going to be responsible for different regions. So let me have, first of all, Vice President, yes, please have a seat. Yes. Vice President Axel van Trausenberg give 2 awards. You're going to be very busy now. And our 2 awardees are representing Universidad de Lima for his work in Peru, Wilson Hernandez. Welcome. A photo. Great, thank you. Representing MaxFam and International Planned Parenthood Federation for their work in Mexico, Esperanza Delgado and Florencia Garindelli. And a photo. Thank you very much. Thank you, Axel. And let's welcome Vice President Farid Belhaj, give now a word to the winning team from the Middle East and North Africa. And shall we have the awardee representing the University of Jordan, the Jordanian Hashemite Fund for Human Development, and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health for their work in Jordan, Arij Otman. Thank you. Thank you very much. And also thank you, Farid. Shall we welcome the Vice President Cyril Muller, giving an award to the winning team from Europe and Central Asia. Let's welcome representing Crisis Center Sezin, Arizona State University for his work in Kyrgyz Republic, Bilbil Sara, Rizkulova, and also Sultanat Chowdhury. And a photo. Congratulations. Thank you, Sylvia. At this point, we already award 5, right? I think I counted right, 5 of them already. And what have they done? Now, let's take a video and see what they have been achieving over the years. Let's run the video.
Creemos que las empresas pueden ser
We believe
contra las mujeres. Muchas de ellas ya han iniciado acciones que son catalogadas como buenas prácticas para enfrentar la violencia contra las mujeres, pero no saben si realmente están siendo eficaces para erradicar la violencia. Nuestra propuesta es un modelo de evaluación que por una parte va a medir la prevalencia de violencia contra las mujeres, tanto a la que deriva de la ejercida por la pareja o expareja, también por los trabajadores, compañeros de trabajo y por los jefes. Esta propuesta es importante porque, en primer lugar, va a dar continuidad y sostenibilidad a las medidas que están tomando las empresas que están comprometidas. En segundo lugar, puede servir para los organismos e instituciones que valoran el logro de estas empresas, y en tercer lugar atraerá a muchas otras empresas que en este momento no están comprometidas con la violencia contra la mujer.
Violence against women doesn't stop with crime reporting. Therefore, we are working in partnership with police in Peru in order to reduce intimate partner violence, specifically with the home visits program. Our research has 2 objectives. The first is to give gender-based violence training directed to police in order to attack and address sexist culture. Our second objective is to vary the frequency of home visit program based on the risk of future aggressions. With this research, we hope to inform public policies in order so they can be based on evidence. We hope also that this could lead to a series of protocols to escalate the program nationally.
We have found out that comprehensive sexuality education works for preventing gender-based violence, and now I want to find out more how it works. What are the mechanisms that makes young people between ages 14 and 18 to change their attitudes and behaviors towards their partners. What is nice is that the local NGO that is implementing this project in Mexico is part of an international federation that is all over the world. Last year, only in Latin America, we reached around 1.2 million young people with comprehensive sexuality education, so that's what we are aiming for.
It's a research project that aims at understanding more about how do youth in Jordan formulate or develop their attitudes toward gender inequity and sexual gender-based violence. We aim to benefit from our results in informing our interventions and programs on how to develop relevant and evidence-based interventions that will alleviate or minimize the scope of the problem in Jordan.
What is clear from our research is that there's a need for culture-wide learning and dispelling myths about healthy relationships, identifying danger signs, and helping women with obtaining immediate support. And so in the United States, a digital app called My Plan has been developed for women to circumvent these barriers and connecting them with services and planning safety efficiently and confidentially. So our project is aimed at adapting the My Plan to Kyrgyz context and figuring out how to get it into women's hands in a place where there's really been no precedent for the use of tools like this one. So we'll work with our key partners from the government, civil society, and the business sector to support women and help frontline professionals as well as policymakers to professionalize their services as part of our broader agenda for women's empowerment, safety, and health.
Five of them from very different parts of the world, certainly very different social circumstances, and also development stages. However, they are doing a terrific job. Thank you so much. We have more coming up. So we're gonna have Vice President Victoria Kwakwa to award the winner coming from East Asia and the Pacific. From that region, representing Oxfam for his work in Papua New Guinea, Charlotte Kakibike. A photo together. All right. Congratulations, and thank you, Victoria. Now let's have the Vice President, Hart Schaefer, give 3 awards to winning teams from South Asia. All right, representing Brack University for his work in Bangladesh, Nina Bachman and Paula Lopez Pena. And a photo. Congrats. Representing Anusanta Trust for his work in India, Sanjita Regie. Congrats. Representing the Institute for Financial Management and Research for its work in India, Sudhasawa Bhattacharya. Photo? Thank you, Hart. And also, let's have Director of Strategy and Operations for Africa, Ritu Gaye, to present the awards. 2 awards to the winning team from Africa. Representing the University of Ibadan and ICRW for his work in Nigeria, we have Ayodaye Matthew Adebayo and Nitu John. A photo together. All right. Congrats. Representing Physicians for Human Rights for his work in Kenya and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Karen Neimer. Thank you. Thank you, dear Ritu. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work as well, for your encouragement in the regions and our winners. See, working with the World Bank means a lot of hard work on and off the stage as well. Okay, so now let's hear from the final 6 winners that just got awarded. Look at the video.
In Nigeria, violence is very high. On previous studies that have been conducted among women, a few among men, and almost nothing among couples. So our study is unique because it's couple-based, meaning that it's going to be done among husband and wife. And 2, we're looking at 3 different interventions. The first one is gender socialization. The second is financial literacy. And the third is family planning literacy. And we hope at the end of this, women's bargaining power will be increased, dominating power of men will be reduced, and then we generate equality in decision making, and at the end of the day, reduce violence among husbands and wives.
Research done in Papua New Guinea shows there's an estimated 80% intimate partner violence rate. Now, currently there are prevention programs taking place in Papua New Guinea, but they're mostly focused on addressing the symptoms of violence rather than looking at the root drivers. So Oxfam has been implementing a prevention program looking at the root drivers and is hoping to do an in-depth evaluation of this program, which we can then advocate for replication and uptake by other agencies, so that we're thereby creating a safer environment for children to grow up in.
Globally, a lot of resources have been spent on setting up hospital-based crisis centers to respond to the issue of violence against women. But very few research studies exist on really evaluating these projects. So our study fills in a gap and is unique because it will actually carry out an evaluation of 11 hospital-based centers in Mumbai in India. What's unique about the study is that we will bring together voices of survivors of violence as well as doctors and nurses who responded to these victims of violence against women. The impact that it's going to create is that it's going to enable health ministries to really recognize how much of the economic resources to be spent at different levels of the health system. And that is something that I'm passionate about, which is bringing about a change in how health systems respond to violence.
There's been massive progress in empowering women in Bangladesh economically. Nonetheless, the acceptability of violence between couples, both among women and among men, has remained very high. We will test a media campaign in Bangladesh that has been found effective in other settings. For the first time, we will vary both the messages being sent as well as the dissemination outlet. And we will target either husbands alone, husbands and wives, or communities as a whole. Our intervention will allow us to understand how to best design media campaigns that can change attitudes in different settings in the future.
Physicians for Human Rights has developed Medicapt, a mobile app that allows clinicians to document forensic medical evidence of sexual violence to support prosecutions in Kenya and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. No other tool like this exists to capture forensic medical evidence. Our research will evaluate the efficacy of the app, the experience of the survivors in the clinic and their access to justice, and the ability for health facilities to be able to capture statistics on sexual and gender-based violence. So many times survivors don't come forward to report the abuse they've endured, but for those survivors who do dare to come forward because they want their day in court, their cases often fail because there's a lack of adequate evidence to support their allegations. So we developed this intervention to be able to help those courageous survivors actually win when they seek access to justice.
What about the women who don't come out and report what has happened to them? There are a lot of cultural barriers that prevent women from coming out and reporting violence that has happened against them. And with our project, we are trying to address exactly this problem. We are setting up women's help desks in the building complex of 120 police stations in the state of Madhya Pradesh in India, with the hope that these act as a last mile resort to women who do not have the ability to travel to cities or to faraway places to talk about their problems. By setting up these help desks, we are hoping to see some increase in reporting from women who face crimes against them, and we are hoping that this encourages more women like them to come out and talk about their problems.
Concrete research, real impactful projects, the winner of 2019 awards. So let's give our applause once again to all the winners sitting here today. Congratulations. Now, I would also like to have all of you watch another short piece of video with me. The reason for that is very simple. Earlier in the videos, you have seen some of the countries' names being mentioned. Those countries that are experiencing turbulence and violences. For example, we heard from the example in Lebanon. We have also been hearing from winners in countries like Greece, Ethiopia, Rwanda. It's because forced displacement is really increasing the opportunities, or shall we say, the risks of gender-based violence. So I want you to watch this piece of video with me. It is coming from UN High Commissioner for Refugee, and it's about importance continuing to expand of our knowledge in this area.
Around the world today, millions of refugees and displaced people have fled brutal forms of sexual and gender-based violence or been exposed to it on dangerous journeys. Once in exile, the risks continue, fueled by poverty and exclusion. Supporting survivors is an immediate priority. So too are building the resilience of displaced people and addressing ongoing risks. This needs good data and analysis, including through participatory research that captures how age, gender, and other forms of diversity affect the risks and ways of overcoming them. People's dignity and rights must be at the center of our efforts.
Thank you, Mr. High Commissioner, for that message. Now, we've been hearing from the awardees, and we've been hearing some important messages. But the question really is, what they have found out through concrete case studies and research, how can we scale it up? How can we really provide solutions on a global basis? Now, here are two people that are going to help us on the stage to analyze that and help us to look for new solutions and to scale it up on a global basis. Let's welcome Shalini Roy, who is a research fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute, 2016 Development Marketplace Award winner. She won an award to undertake research in Bangladesh. Please have your seat. Welcome. Also, we want to welcome to the stage Philippe Late, who is a senior social protection economist from the World Bank Group. Philippe? maybe over there. Yes. Yes. You'll be sitting here, and you'll be sitting there. Thank you. All right. I want to, is the voice okay? All right. I want to start by thanking the two of you coming onto the stage, because you realize that once you come to the stage, there will be more scrutiny of your project. So I want to start with you. Shalini, tell me about what you have found out through your research, and why does it matter to all the men and women sitting here today?
Sure, thanks so much. So just to give you a very quick backdrop for the research that we did that won the award. Cash transfers, as many of you might know, are an increasingly popular policy tool to reduce poverty, and they're often targeted to women. Now, many people worry that targeting women might actually put them at risk of increased intimate partner violence, either because men may respond with backlash to a change in power dynamics, or because they may use violence to try to take over the transfer itself. And this is obviously a very important concern. What's been found in the evidence is exactly the opposite. So over 70% of all the rigorous quantitative and qualitative work shows that transfers actually decrease intimate partner violence. And it's not that the remaining 30% shows increases. The remaining 30% shows either no effect or, like mixed effects. So there's 2 studies that show an increase in emotional violence and a decrease in other dimensions or something like that. But by and large, the evidence is now very compelling that far from being something to fear, transfers are actually a really promising platform to leverage reductions in IPV at scale. So that's where our project comes in. The Bangladesh project, which was an awardee in 2016, focused on 2 gaps in the evidence. One of which is that the evidence really draws largely from Latin America. And to the extent that you might be worried about backlash and so on, you might think that these kinds of things might happen more in a setting where the norms are more patriarchal. And the second is that the evidence is really compelling on reductions in violence during the program. But we don't know, the evidence is really silent because no one collects the data on what happens after the program ends. And that's where you might also want to know whether the cash alone is enough or whether you need something else with it, excuse me. And so what we did in the Bangladesh study is we looked at a program where there was no focus at all on gender or violence. It was focused really on improving household food security and nutrition, but it targeted women with cash or food transfers with or without an intensive nutrition training. And what we did is compare 6 to 10 months after the program ended, women who had received nothing, women who were randomized to receive transfers only, and women who had received transfers with the nutrition training. And what we found was that, first, there were no increases in violence in any of the groups. Second, the transfers and the transfers with the training all reduced violence during the program.
Right.
But third, in order to sustain the reductions in violence, you needed to include the behavior change communication, the training. So what the nutrition training did, and I'm happy to talk more about how this comes about and what we think that could generalize to in other settings, the nutrition training basically allowed the impacts of the transfers to be sustained beyond the end of the program.
Yeah, so what she is saying in a technical matter is actually can be played into plain words like this. So you're doing some nutrition project, but the side product of it have found out this actually, with the mechanism set up during that project, could reduce the gender-based violence on the household in a very least developed economy. And that has a lot to do with the establishment of the mechanism. So what exactly is the mechanism you have established? And meanwhile, if the cash transfer, which is the key word here, stopped, is this still gonna be sustainable?
Thank you. So that's exactly right.
Briefly, just 1 minute if you can.
Absolutely. So the key thing is that what the behavior change did, what the training in this case did, was that it actually improved women's status. So as many of you working in South Asia will know, women's mobility outside the home, their social ties are very limited with the norms of female seclusion. And what this program did was, without trying to subvert norms, It worked within the existing norms where nutrition is very much within women's domain, and it brought women together with others. So the training took the form of weekly group meetings of women with others in their community, and it basically not only increased their social ties, which increased their status among their community, but it also increased the respect the community had for them because they now had this valuable knowledge. And this was sustained beyond the end of the program. And this, we think, triggered several changes. It improved their bargaining power in the home. It improved the visibility of violence inflicted against them, so men were discouraged from inflicting it. And it also improved household well-being in general, which reduced stress in the household.
Okay.
So what really happened was it sustained the impact beyond the end of the program by improving women's status.
Really? Is it really going to sustain the impact of the project once the cold cash transfer is stopped? Philippe?
Yes, I think Shalini touched a very important point. As the cash transfers started to increase utilization around the world, people were only looking at the impacts on poverty. People were not looking at this program as a platform to deliver better service to a population, and not even considering different aspects of this program that could be used by other sectors to improve the results. So actually, the main contribution of the social protection or the safety nets, a cash transfer program, is not about poverty reduction, it's about social inclusion. It's about giving the voice for people that are not being heard. In many cases, like you presented a lot of evidence here of services being provided, for example, at the hospital level. However, the poor people, the people in vulnerable communities, they've not even heard about this. They do not know where to go. So when you have all these pieces together, you can generate a sustainable impact, because it's not about cash. It's about bringing the people to the service. It's making an individual a citizen of a country.
So has it made an impact? I mean, as representative of World Bank and now on the stage for this discussion, you have to work with your clients, quote unquote, in a way around the world in order to get those, what you call mechanism done, right?
Yes.
So how do your clients respond to this?
Yeah, we are being like in our global practice, we have cases like we are starting, like you see a big development since the early 2000s of this, like the growth in terms of cash transfer programs. And what actually you see is a transition from this cash transfer for more developing the system. So you can see that the countries are more and more interested in the cases where we invest more on the basics, creating the environment at the community level where you have social workers, health workers working together with the cash transfer group. So it's really a collaborative work. And whenever we say or we talk with the client that this is not about social protection from the point of view of poverty reduction, it's actually long-term development. This is an investment. So if they understand that we are talking about investment, that's where you go. But to do that, we need resources. You need, like, sometimes to change the behavioral and the social norms even from the government. Because the government, from the case of cash transfer, they see that as a short term. So you have to work not only with the community, but also with the government. But once they understand the need for investment, they are happy to make small changes, small twists in the programs, to create this foundation that can be used as a platform for multiple programs and multiple interventions. And these allow reducing a lot of the stress that the community and the people are suffering that generates sometimes the gender-based violence.
I just want to follow up a little bit because you use the word change. Now, change is always aspiring. However, it's very hard to change traditions and behaviors. So how can you use, research like this to be able, for the long term, to achieve the goal of really changing, while for the short term, accommodating to make the foundation for change? That's also important.
That's very important, and I think that you touched two important points in our operations, because we still have short-term needs. So we should work beyond the current generation. So whenever we are talking about, for example, violence, gender-based violence, it's not only talking with the family. we also have to make this message available for the children. So working on using the social protection platform where children start to be exposed also to changes in norms, that would generate some impact. And also you have to respect the environment of the society. You have to be working with addressing the social norms. So you have to convince also the old people that this is important. So it's even like not only about violence, but as Charlene mentioned in nutrition, if you think about like delivery or breastfeeding, in rural Africa, we have a lot of, or in South Asia, we still have a lot of social norms that affect women to breastfeed for 6 months. So if you do not work with a lot of outreach information, you will not get there. So you have to work with the adults, bringing the community, but bringing the key leaders of the community, but also work with the children to change their mentality in the future.
Can we scale this up? When we scale it up, there will be a lot of complexities, as we know, operating on a global basis. Of course, Philippe mentioned a little bit about that. What do you think, very briefly?
So I think it can be scaled up, but the thing that needs to be understood is what to scale up in different contexts.
What do you think?
So I would say the silver bullet is not add a nutrition training in every country, but it is find out what is underlying gender-based violence in different countries that could potentially be leveraged through the cash transfer, and find a component that can work with the social protection program being provided to sustainably affect that mechanism.
Philippe, agree?
I agree, and I just want to add that like the main importance element of a social protection for a scaling up is not about the cash only. It's about having the platform that allow you to reach the individuals and do like a case management, refer them to different available services, give them the information, where to go, how to be treated. So having access to that is more important than only a cash transfer. So when we are talking about scaling up, it's not a scaling up a cash transfer, it's scaling up the foundations of the system that could generate these like different branches of a tree where people could have access to different services, because this is a problem that affects the life cycle. It's not only of today, so you have to work across the cycle.
Beautifully said. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the two of them help us to understand at least one case study, and why this case study, as many of our awardees today been doing around the world, important for our cause, and how we scale it up with sophistication. We want to thank two of them for telling their stories and share with us the know-how. Thank you. And also, I want to thank everyone who's here with us in this room, in DC, and watching this event as it go live on the internet. If you want to participate in future discussion with us, do want to make sure you go with the hashtag GBV Solutions as well. This will be a long discussion, not only just for today, but for many days and months to come. Meanwhile, we want to recommend you to also watch the videos and interviews with John Graham, the father of Hannah Graham, and go on our website to be able to do that, to hear the stories. Thank you so much once again for your family's contribution. And finally, I want to encourage all of you here in this auditorium to meet our awardees today. They have their great stories to tell and their fresh experiences to share with all of you. For now, this is me, Tian Wei, together with our two guests on the stage. Thank you so much for being with us. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.